Hey, Em. Good morning, girl. How are you today? Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of January, 2019. The 19th year of the 2000th year. Oh, well. Me and my coughing in the morning. What is that all about? I don't know. Um, Let me bring you a little closer. So, how are you doing, girl? Um, I feel good today. I feel really good today. Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of January, and today my community college classes begin. That's right, it all starts today. In fact, I have a welding class today at like 6 o'clock p.m. And my plan is to buy a textbook today at the bookstore, my welding textbook. It's called Welding Technology. And I'm looking forward to buying the book and perusing the book and heading out to class this evening. It's going to be a little bit of a trick to drive out at nighttime to the class because I have an ophthalmologist appointment. That's an eye doctor appointment. And my eyeballs will be dilated. My pupils will be dilated so that they can take a look at my retinas. And those dilation drops, man, they really mess with my vision. So we'll see. Maybe I won't go to my welding class today. I mean, I hope that I will. I probably will be able to do it since my class is, you know, in the evening and my eye appointment is in the morning. Hopefully, some of that those dilation drops will wear off a little bit over the hours. It just so happens that my eyes are really sensitive to those drops, and it takes me a full day to recover, for my pupils to recover after those drops and return to normal normal widths. Anyway, so, but I am looking forward to going to my class today, and I'm also looking forward to going to my yoga class on Friday. Big whoop. It's a big deal. It really is a big deal. It's important to me. So I figured that what we could do is go over the Attitudes of Gratitude book notes. That is my highlights that I wrote. I had highlighted passages that I noticed or that I made while reading the book by M.G. Ryan. And I have my notes right here. Boom, here they are. And so the first passage that I'm going to consider today was a highlight I made on page 122. And this is what the passage said. It said, "One way to counteract the tendency to look outside ourselves for happiness is to practice no matter what." I'm trying to remember what no matter what. Oh, yeah. So here's the game, the no matter what game. Before you go into a situation, ask yourself, what is it that I can learn, accomplish, and experience here no matter what happens? The no matter what game. And I like that. Really like this game. I think this is important. Think of a situation as just a fixed item and you're approaching it. And what can you gain as you move through that part of your day, right? What can you learn? You know, you know, what is something that you'll almost necessarily take away from that experience? What are the positive benefits? It's kind of interesting how you can predict in advance what they might be. You might learn something new, and that's something that you can affirm and sort of be confident that you'll receive in that situation. Another thing is that you can know that you'll practice a certain set of virtues, or become aware of certain values that are important to you. Another thing is that, well, this relates to developing virtues. You'll be able to notice how you can improve parts of your character through having experienced that situation. What are it's a kind of interesting to think in advance what benefits and gains you'll receive by sort of traveling through a situation. Yeah. And these are benefits that you'll receive likely no matter what. And that it sort of brings this unconditional benefit to light. You're sort of recognizing the unconditional benefit. I mean, I can do that for, how about this, my life with you, Emily? Some unconditional benefits that I receive no matter what happens is maybe a sort of an affirming of the meaning that I have in my life, right? Sort of a sense of purpose, as a father. That for me, that I recognize it's a lot about giving. It's about generosity. That's what being a father means to me. It's about giving love and being empathic. And, these are skills, these are virtues and values that I can develop no matter what happens, right? No matter what happens, no matter what the outcome of my life is, I'll be able to experience the benefits of being a father, right? Developing these personality characteristics and developing these virtues and values that relate to being a father. And, I get those benefits no matter what. Yeah. I get to exercise my ability to express unconditional love, unconditional generosity. I get the benefit of practicing gratitude every day. Right? I get the benefit of practicing respect, right, and honor for another living thing, another living being, something that I created with help from Sheila, my wife, my former wife. So that's great. I get the pleasure of having created something, right? Something unique in the world, right? Something that's never existed before. And it's a permanent creation in the sense that, it exists and it's alive and it's amazing. I'm talking about you. It's a miracle, a walking miracle. It's true. It's true. It's like, wow, I'm responsible for this living being that walks and breathes on the earth. I mean, that's something to recognize. I'm also responsible for caretaking it, right? Ensuring its safety and happiness and peacefulness and enjoyment, right? What does that mean for me? These are considerations, contemplations that, are beneficial to me, right? I'm kind of like a gardener, right? A person who is caring for a grove of trees or a plant or flowers. It's almost like a privilege to be connected to the grove, right? It'll live on even after I'm gone. that's having an impact in the world today, you know? So, I get the benefit of receiving that pretty much no matter what happens, right? No matter what happens, no matter what I think ought to happen or should happen or must happen, right? I get to receive those benefits, you know? You know, it also occurs to me that I only receive those benefits if I focus on them. I mean, mostly that's the case. I would say 80% of that benefit is received if I bring attention to the benefit. If I don't bring attention to the benefit, if I'm always watching the Seattle Seahawks playing football or whatever is sport the Seattle Seahawks play, maybe they play basketball, then it doesn't even enter in my mind those benefits that I gain, right? It's not even real to me. Like if I'm watching The Price is Right on television, then those benefits don't even register on my brain. So, playing the no matter what game, I think is important, because I think it has the ability to sort of elevate your mood, elevate your attitude, because you're recognizing the benefits that you're gaining in the moment, in every moment, and that the benefits you'll gain no matter what. And I can do this with any external situation that I walk through or confront, right? It's funny that I could bring my attention to the no matter what game all the time. It might be, what if I thought about the no matter what game all the time and I thought about little else? Then, what it would mean is I would just be focused on, the continuous benefits of living my everyday life and how my needs are met. I mean, they're not just met a little bit, but they're met abundantly, right? My glass is filled. In fact, it's overflowing. My glass is overflowing with benefits that I receive no matter what, right? Even today, even right now, being on video right now on YouTube, sharing what I'm sharing with you, I receive benefits no matter what, whether you watch these videos or not, whether anyone watches these videos or not. I receive a lot of benefits. Like, for example, I become more clear about my values. I become, first of all, I gain, I get to appreciate and enjoy making the videos. I know there's a lot of creative energy that goes into the videos that I make. There are benefits, like I get to practice my speaking ability, right? I get to practice my gestures. I get to practice my voice modulation. I get to I get to practice my smile and my laughter in this feedback loop. I mean, just just those benefits alone are reasons to do the video. And then what's even, just think about the long-term benefits. I mean, I'm going to die in 40 years. If I'm if I'm lucky. If I'm not lucky, I'll die immediately. But if I'm really lucky, I'll die in 40 years. And say at age 90. Let's say if I'm really super duper lucky, I'll get to age 90. If that's the case, that's a pretty finite lifespan. That's 100 years, right? A century. I've lived nearly a century. But these videos have the potential to live on forever and ever and ever, as long as human beings exist. to be a guide, to be a source of inspiration for other human beings. Centuries from now, millennia, I can imagine millennia, 1,000 years from now, people are watching the video of Miguel, right? This is Miguel musing about the world, musing about gratitude, and playing the no matter what game. And perhaps someone 1,000 years from now is empathizing with me, right? Oh, I can imagine what he's feeling right now, living the life he's living in the year 2019 AD, right? It's a heavy responsibility. No, it's not that heavy. But, just it's a benefit of being an influencer. Yeah, check it out. I'm influencing not only myself in a positive way, not only you, my daughter, in a positive way, but maybe even my daughter's children and my children, my daughter's children's children. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just amazing to imagine how I benefit no matter what from making this video. It's just overflowing, right? The benefit I receive is just overflowing. And, it's kind of interesting. The more I think about it, the more I receive. It's like I'm receiving it right now through my appreciation, right? Through my focus on the benefits that I receive no matter what. It's like a tidal wave of goodness, of thoughts that are pleasant and mild and peaceful and good. It's going on in my brain right now. My neurotransmitters, right? The adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine, they're working their magic inside my neurons as the synapses, spark across the gaps. And, I'm in my own self-developed heaven. Wow, that's a benefit that I can receive even now, no matter what. I can place my own self, my own mind, my emotions and attitudes in heaven, so to speak. That's a more metaphorical heaven, but I get to experience that pleasure now, in the moment. Wow. And guess what? I can play the no matter game what? Anytime I want to. What? That's right. It's all a matter of where you place your attention. I think that's really I've been thinking about how human beings, we have an amazing ability to control our bodies, right? I can control my facial expressions. I can control the words that I speak. I can control my arms, my hands, right? Exquisite control. I have exquisite control over my body. I can control my legs, my arms, my legs, my head. Check that out. Exquisite control. That is freedom right there. And it's also empowering. It's very empowering. But beyond that, there's another aspect I can control, and that is my focus, right? I was just talking about a moment ago about how I can play the no matter what game anytime I want. I can focus on the benefits that I receive in the moment and put myself into this state of bliss anytime I want, right? Because just like I have the ability to control my arms and legs, I have the ability to control my focus. I have exquisite control over my focus, the ideas that I consider in every moment, if I choose. Otherwise, if I don't choose to exert my executive control over my conscious self, my consciousness, If I don't do that, I can just, let it be. I can relax, let my external world be the trigger for what I think in the moment. In a way that's disempowering. I just let my external world handle it. And whatever triggers me, it's just whatever is that triggering is just the sort of the initiation of a conditioned response that's been conditioned over the years. It's just an automatic response, really. And I'm not going to pay it any mind or exert executive control over my attention. That's a very disempowering kind of feeling. I'm just noticing there's two kinds of feelings. There's an empowering one where I have control over my focus, and a disempowering one when I give up that control and just allow myself to be triggered and allow those automatized conditioning habits that I've developed over the years to take effect. I can override that with my thinking. And, really I think that's really empowering. It gives me exquisite control over my life. I can be in heaven or hell, and it's a choice that I make moment to moment. And what I mean by that is that I can consider thoughts that are painful or thoughts that are pleasurable. There are pleasurable thoughts. I have pleasurable thoughts. I've got a catalog of them in my mind. I also have painful thoughts that I struggle with. And, I've got the shoulds, woulds, and coulds, right? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I got a lot of those. I've got judgmental thoughts, right? That's not the way it should be. As an example. But I have other kinds of thoughts too, thoughts that just bring me exquisite pleasure every time I consider them. That's right. And, there are lots of kinds of needs. And I've got, a whole spectrum of needs that I can satisfy. I've got the need for food and water, shelter, clothing, and safety, right? Sort of the physical, external needs. I also have other needs. I have the need to be loved, the need to be respected, the need to have a meaning or purpose in my life. Like I've got needs for peace, relaxation, needs for ease, needs for excitement. I've got a lot of needs that what I'd call are psychological needs, right? So I have physical needs, I have psychological needs. And so how do I go about satisfying those needs? Well, the psychological needs, I think I could pretty much satisfy just by focusing my attention in one place or another. I know. So for example, I have a need for excitement, right? So where do I place my attention in order to get a dose of adrenaline and excitement? Well, I might watch a movie or do something new, like do something courageous, something that's out of my comfort zone, right? And, whether I satisfy that need for excitement or not is 100% dependent on whether I focus my attention to sort of meet that psychological need. Yep. Now, it's not so easy to satisfy my physical needs by focusing my attention, but that would be a very effective way to satisfy those needs. For example, food, right? Food, shelter, clothing, safety. How do I satisfy my need for food? Well, gosh, I don't know. I just let food fall from the sky. No, I've got to focus. I place my attention on my kitchen in my home, on my refrigerator, in my cabinets. I hunt for food in my cabinets. Right? I look for the cookie. Where's that cookie? I hunt it down. I open the wrapper and I chew on the cookie. So, in order to satisfy my physical needs, I also need to pay attention. I need to take wrest control of my attention, my focus. And that's how I meet those physical needs. Now, I can be thwarted. Safety is a really good example. If I'm in the middle of a war zone, and I have a need for physical safety, that can be a challenge, even if I put my attention on trying to be as safe as possible, right? Try to meet that need for safety in a war zone. So it's not guaranteed that I'll meet every need of mine, but the chances of me meeting that need, the odds are considerably higher if I focus my attention, take control of my awareness to achieve those needs. That's right. Wow. And it's also more than just attention. When I put my attention on my kitchen to satisfy my need for food, I am taking control of not just my attention, but also my body, right? My arms, my legs, I use them as resources to grab the cookie and to chew the cookie, right? I need my jaw to exercise up and down to eat the cookie. So it's really a combination of mental focus and focus on exerting control of my arms and legs to meet my needs. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of interesting how executive control is essential for me to meet my needs. And here's the thing, there's no guarantee that exercising this control will act to meet my needs. I could be mistaken about what my needs are. There are a lot of things that could get in the way of me meeting my needs, even if I exert control over my physical body and my consciousness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could be in jail, right? And no matter how much I try to meet a need for maybe a physical need, those are harder to come by, right? The psychological needs are a lot easier to come by if I exert control. There are ways for me to miss and to sort of prevent myself from meeting my needs. Even when I exert control, if I'm mistaken in some way, if I tend to use a route, say in a story that's not getting me to my destination, I could imagine if I make the wrong thought strategies, or if I use the wrong thought strategies, that I might not meet the psychological needs that I wish to meet. The thing about psychological needs is that they could be met pretty easily. I know. It's the external needs. Well, here's the thing. It could be a mixture too, because, a psychological need is satisfied quite often when meanings change, right? I go from my external reality meaning one thing to meaning another. And if I'm over-focused on, say, a certain configuration of my external reality in order to give myself permission to generate that emotion, then that could be a problem. Anyway. Okay, well, that was really instructive. That's 30 minutes of discussion. It's pretty instructive. And it's really quite an empowering discussion. Emily, I hope you're paying attention. Are you paying attention? I'm paying attention, at least I'm trying to. It's still early in the morning. So here's the point to pay attention to. It's about meeting needs. And if you have needs to be met, in order to meet them, it takes a decision. If there's a freedom, you've got the freedom of choice to decide whether or not to wrest control over your focus and your arms and legs. That's a gross simplification, but that's really all there is. If you want to meet any need of yours, that is basically the first step. And hopefully you'll be able to maneuver your mind and body in such a way that you strategically meet your goal of meeting your needs, right? There's some focus on analysis and strategy, right? You need to use the right tactics in the proper context. If I start dancing in the middle of a cafeteria, that's a strategy that does not work. Even though I'm wresting control of my focus and my arms and legs while dancing in the middle of a cafeteria, I won't meet my need for food. I won't meet my need for nourishment. Right? So it takes more than just wresting control of your body and mind. It also takes a strategy that's effective. But if you've got that, if you've got control of your body and mind, and you've got a strategy that's even marginally effective, you can be successful. One can be successful in meeting their needs. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a golden nugget of wisdom right there. Wow. Okay, let's see. What is next? You know what? It's been a long time since I've gone through the question and answer period. And oh gosh, my pen is just not in my little thing here. So here I got my pencil out. So I'm going to mark that off. I think we thoroughly discussed the no matter what game. Now, I don't know if I've shown this to you. This is my pen case, my pencil case. I've got a pencil case. I keep this in my pocket, my front pocket, in my jeans all the time. And it's got my pencil, my mechanical pencil. This is my Pentel. It's a 0.7 millimeter lead. And I've got a dry erase marker. And I've got another dry erase marker. They're both blue, coincidentally. How odd. And then I also have in my, I've got a fluorescent marker. Retractable, check that out. Retractable fluorescent marker in the barrel. And then I also have, Post-it notes. Have you ever been in a situation where you needed some paper, but you didn't have paper? I keep paper with me all the time. I'm just that good. Because I'm old, I've just become an expert in living. Be prepared is the motto of the Boy Scouts, right? And hey, what do you think about these new glasses that I picked up? These are just reading glasses. I think their magnification is like 1.25 or 1.5. Pretty mild magnification, but my old eyes are improved by this mild magnification. So let's get to the real meat here. Let me check on something real quick. Okay, so let's ask and answer a question here. Question number 197. Under what circumstances is it impossible for you to sleep? Well, I guess there are a few examples, few circumstances when it is impossible for me to sleep. Number one, caffeine. Caffeine does it to me all the time. I'm not a drinker of caffeine, and so I have very low tolerance for caffeine. So that means I'm really affected by its effects when it's in my body. And if I'm all hopped up on caffeine, I just cannot sleep. I'm just so energetic. I'm, I'm creative and expressive, and I just don't have the time to rest. So when I'm on a caffeine high, sometimes when I eat a lot of chocolate, the same will be true. Um, what is it, theobromine or something? I forget what the chemical name in that chocolate is that acts as a stimulant. Let's see, what else? What other circumstance is when I cannot sleep? Well, if I've got like a big day at work or a big day at school the next day, like something critical is happening, um, something like a trip, like a cross-country trip or something, I've got a flight to take, I sometimes have a hard time falling asleep because I'm just so excited. Maybe I'm looking forward to the next day. I'll have some trouble sleeping because I'll continuously be imagining what I'll enjoy or what'll be happening the next day, right? I'll be doing a lot of internal rehearsal. Let's see what else. What else makes it impossible for me to sleep? Well, if I've had a bad day the previous day, right? If sometime during the course of the day something went terribly wrong, right? Usually that for me, that happens if my relationships are disturbed. There's a disturbance in the force, right? Then I'll have trouble falling asleep because I'll be, focused on what went wrong and doing some problem solving and focused on what I can do to make amends or to solve the problem that's happening. Another circumstance when I find it impossible to sleep is when the temperature is off. Like if it's too hot or too cold, forget about it. Particularly if it's too cold. If it's too cold, I'm not sleeping. Or I'm only gonna have like 1 or 2 hours of sleep that night. I'm very sensitive to the cold if it's cold at nighttime. It's just so distracting. I can fall asleep if I'm too hot. I can fall asleep if I'm too hot. Why is that? I don't know. Now, if I'm way too hot, my guess is that I couldn't fall asleep. But I've never been that hot before. I've always been able to doze off in the heat. In fact, I think it's one of the favorite times for me to fall asleep is when I'm sort of really warm and cozy, and even hot. Yeah, I'll just conk out, clunk. So let's see, what other circumstances are there that prevent me from sleeping? I think I covered a lot of them. I don't drink alcohol today. I haven't really drunk alcohol in 20 years, 30 years. But when I did drink alcohol, like a beer or two, I wouldn't be able to sleep after that alcohol. I remember just like being awake. So alcohol definitely does disturb my sleep. Now, here's the thing. I never drink it, so it's not really a factor, but I have memories of that happening in the past. So what other circumstances prevent me from sleeping? I don't know. That's about it. Oh, well, another thing is loud noises. I live in an apartment right now where I'm sort of close to the parking lot, and there are people who have got these security systems in their vehicles that go off like randomly, or they might chirp, right? Oh man, I have trouble sleeping when they're continuously going off. Oh, I'm starting about to another time. I'll just talk about sleep. So yeah, when it's loud, I get distracted and can't fall asleep. Sometimes if there's music playing or people having conversations that are loud. Now I have ways to counteract that. I use earplugs, and usually those earplugs are enough to block out the sound and enough so that I can fall asleep, no problem. So I make sure that I always have close access to earplugs at times when I'm trying to fall asleep, just in case I got problems with noise or things like that. Something that's kept me up from sleeping is light too. Something it's like if it's like too bright or something, I'll have a hard time falling asleep. But it depends on how tired I am. All right, I think I really thoroughly treated that question. All right. Question number 198. How do you best avoid conflict? Well, the best way to avoid conflict, perhaps, is to not participate in the conflict. Now, that might mean not participating in the conversation, but for me, more often than not, since I pretty much participate in any conversation anytime, is that I just decide not to be defensive or combative. I might just make observations and make statements of curiosity about stuff. That might be the easiest and best way for me to avoid conflict. There are a lot of other strategies that I can use too. Another strategy might just be using nonverbal behaviors. That could be effective, by expressing certain ideas nonverbally. I think that's a way to avoid conflict sometimes. What other ways do I avoid conflict? Well, you can avoid conflict by changing the subject. Usually there's a subject that's prone to conflict. Not talking about that subject is a great way to prevent. That's probably one of the most used methods of avoiding conflict, and that is just to not bring up the subject. Once conflict gets started, once people get triggered and they're like on automatic pilot, it's really hard to sort of, since they're working from a very, what I'd call at an instinctual level, they're not really thinking rationally. It's hard to de-escalate conflict when it happens. And it takes a concerted effort. All right, well, I guess that's enough of that question. How about question number 199? How accident prone are you? Describe a recent incident. So, I can be pretty accident prone, and a lot of it has to do with my personal standards, right? This is a personal judgment about how clumsy I am. There are contexts in which I'm more clumsy than others. Like when I wash the dishes, I tend to be pretty clumsy and break dishes every once in a while. Why? I don't know. Oh, sometimes when I reach up into my cupboard, in my kitchen, my cabinets, I sometimes stuff just falls out. Falls on the counter, it falls on the floor, it falls on me. Yeah, so certain contexts I'm more clumsy than others. Typically when I'm in a rush. Let's see. So what's the question is, how accident prone am I? I think that I'm not that accident prone. I've actually discovered a way recently about how to reduce my accident proneness. It's about focus on how I move my body. I move my balance, my arms and legs. And I've noticed that if I kind of play with the movement, that I'm paying more attention to it, And this playfulness in my movement makes my movements more accurate. Yeah. So it helps me sort of counteract the clumsiness, sort of dancing. It's sort of like a dancing movement pattern in the midst of a movement. That extra attention, that extra focus, to dance in the middle of a moment, in the middle of a movement takes strategy, patience. But it also makes me more, dexterous, more. I'm able to exert more care. So, describe a recent incident. Well, one incident does come to mind. I was doing the dishes, and I dropped a ceramic mug in my sink from just a few inches because my hands were all soapy. And my gloves got all soapy, and I just lost my grip on the slippery object, and a chip sort of got chipped out of the lip of the cup, and I had to throw the cup away and buy a replacement because I really don't have very many mugs for tea or for coffee. I think I've got 3, maybe just 2. I think I might just have 2, so that's not a lot, really. But breaking that cup was an incident recently that sort of was an example of me being clumsy. I also always hit my head on some of the cabinet doors. I leave the cabinet doors open sometimes when I'm rifling through my cabinets. Well, let's see. What other recent incidents besides hitting my head and breaking my mug? Sometimes I trip and fall. I have a tendency to walk backwards. For some reason, I'm very comfortable just deciding to walk backwards and not looking behind me while I walk. Why I do that, I don't know. I think it's a tendency that I've had for a long time, ever since I was a kid, ever since I was a teenager or a young boy. I've just always been willing to walk backwards. I've got an irrational confidence related to walking backwards. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question number 200. What's the most important thing about you? Yes. The most important thing about me. The most important thing, if you were to get to know me, what little tidbit of knowledge would be the most important for you to know? Well, I think I have an idea. I have a really strong focus on self-development and self-growth. I think that's the most important thing about me. The most important thing about me. If there's anything that I want you to know about me, is that I have an incentive. I have an intensive focus on personal growth and personal development. And so what that means is I'm very focused on the acquisition of skills and abilities, on the acquisition of knowledge, on the acquisition of ideas that help make me more efficient, effective, and happier and peaceful in the world. Yeah, and that's a pretty intensive focus. It's a big part of my personality. It's not a small part. And basically, my entire life is filtered through that filter. There's another aspect too. It has to do with my general character, my personality. I would have to describe it as lighthearted. But here's the thing, it is contrasted by other parts of my personality which are not as lighthearted, which are more serious. But I think I do have a good lighthearted nature that's filled with goodwill, right? positive intentions. I think that that is a really defining characteristic of my personality. It's sort of like this need to establish an atmosphere or context of goodwill. It's powerful in me. It's this social extrovert. Now that's a positive way of viewing it. Maybe it's more of a need for validation. It could be that. But I do have this really strong bent toward exuding goodwill. I think those two aspects of my personality are the most critical, the most important. Emily, if you ever want to describe me to someone else, in order to accurately describe me and where my focus is, it would be good to say that I have a focus on goodwill and self-development. That those are my, at least in my mind, my dominant personality traits. Now, I've also got other abilities, things that are important about me. I have a very strong analytical capability or an analytical focus. But here's the problem. The depth of my analysis, the accuracy of my analysis, I mean, I only have normal intelligence, right? So I can only push that intelligence so far. And so my analysis only goes so far. My correct analysis is only so good. My judgment is only so good. You know, I have limits on my judgment. It's a function of my intelligence and my ability to concentrate on a certain subject. You know, and also a certain energy, like horsepower. I have an analytical horsepower. I've only got like 12 horses. There are other people who have a lot more analytical horsepower than I do. You know, they're up to 30 horses or 50 horses or 100 horses. You know, my hat's off to those geniuses that are out there. So having a strong analytical capability is a big personality strength that I have. But you know, I'm only as good as I can be. You know, my intelligence is limited. My patience and motivation are limited. My skill set is limited. Yeah. But for some reason, I'm feeling tired this morning. It's like, can I take a nap? I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I don't know. I've got a big day today too, so we'll see how that goes. I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. But I want to wrap this up by saying a few words, Emily, if you don't mind. I just want to express to you how much I appreciate you in my life. I am thankful for what I'm able to receive from you in terms of your personality and your generosity of spirit. You know, I recognize your desire for self-care, and I think that I also can see from a distance your focus on being assertive, right? And sticking up for yourself. And I admire that. Mm-hmm. I admire the bravery and the courage that it takes to stick up for yourself and to stick up for your interests and for your needs. And I really appreciate that. To me, that serves as a sterling and a shining example of the way I can be, you know. I also want to express to you just how much I have just a willingness and a desire and a wish to support you in your life. And it's a really powerful desire. I want to be able to give you a boost, and whether it's a psychological boost or a physical boost or a monetary boost or even just an energetic attitudinal boost, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. In fact, it brings me joy. I feel pride in the fact that I can do it, even a little bit. And it makes me feel good. It's this giving that I give to myself, right? I really do have a hard time putting my finger on it, but I think, it has to do with love. I've fallen in love with you, and I have this instinctual desire to protect and preserve and protect that which I love. It's just a natural inclination. I know. And I feel privileged to have it. There are a lot of people who just don't have love in their lives. It's not on their mind. They're not focused on it. There's no one or no thing or no person that they have the opportunity to focus on, to focus their loving feelings on. And I do. What a wonderful position I'm in, that it's clear where I can direct my feelings of love, right? Where I can direct my feelings of generosity. How wonderful it is for me, for that focus to exist. For a lot of people, that focus is just not there. Maybe they don't have family. Maybe they don't have friends. And believe me, I think that there are a lot of people out there like that, especially in today's world where we're so separated by our technology, and we are joined by our technology and separated by it at the same time. And I just feel so happy that it's so clear in my life about where, in what direction it is that I can focus my energies and my time. And, I just want to thank you for that enrichment, right? It's a sense of worthiness and enrichment and meaning that courses through my life as a result of you being in it. And so I just want to acknowledge it. I want to point to it, that it's something that, maybe it's not as real to you. I want you to know that it is real to me, and not only is it real, but it's like a daily meditation, right? It's a daily practice where I'm focused on, how can I be more generous in this relationship? How can I be more supportive, right? These are questions I ask myself. So I focus my attention and time. And, what can I do to sort of bridge a gap, right? To bridge the separation. And, I just want you to know that I'm really glad that I have at least the opportunity to think those thoughts. I have friends. I have a friend. She lost her child in death a couple years back. And, she naturally was devastated, right? This gaping hole in her life. Her child isn't alive anymore. And you know what? My child is alive. I mean, just think of the contrast. Now, I love my friend. who lost her child. And I just feel so grateful that I'm not in her position. You know, I can still talk to you, right? And you can still talk to me, and we're both in good health, and life is good right now. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'll talk to you later. I hope you have a fantastic day today. All day. I hope all day is fantastic. I hope the morning is terrific. The noon time is fabulous, and your evening is stupendous. How about that? All right. I'll talk to you later, girl. Have a wonderful day. Peace.